ring out and people run for their lives. Firing indiscriminately at two gunmen. Police say their father and son.
I just saw an older lady get shot, and she was on the floor. I saw an older guy get shot, very badly injured on the left-hand side, and I just saw a bunch of people screaming, running towards me. I didn't know what was going on.
The incredible bravery of a bystander tackling one of the gunmen, and now described as a hero. And the first victim to be named, Rabbi Eli Schlanger, a father of 5, who was born in London.
A really dedicated person who really cared for the down and out, and yeah, a really wonderful person.
It's 9 o'clock in the morning here in Bondi. People are waking up to more details about the police investigation.
Also tonight, Ukraine's President Zelensky is in Berlin for talks on the latest peace plan to end the war with Russia. And a shock as St Mirren lift the Scottish League Cup, beating Celtic. Hello to you. It is Australia's worst mass shooting in nearly 30 years after 15 people died, including a 10-year-old girl, during celebrations for a Jewish festival in Sydney. 40 others remain in hospital. Now, it happened at Bondi Beach at a gathering marking the beginning of Hanukkah. Police say it was a terrorist attack. Tonight, we have a clearer picture of what happened from video footage filmed by bystanders and verified by the BBC. It shows two gunmen firing indiscriminately from a small bridge towards a park and beach area. One of the men then leaves, but keeps firing. As the violence continues, a bystander tackles the gunman, grabbing his weapon. He's now been hailed a hero and named locally as Ahmed al-Ahmed. Other bystanders step in to help. But one of the gunmen was later killed, and the second suspect is now in a critical condition in hospital. We'll bring you reaction from around the world, including here in the UK. But first, Katie Watson has our top story tonight from Bondi Beach. Her report contains some distressing scenes.
Horror on Bondi, an unimaginable scene on Australia's most famous beach. People running, but from what? At this point, few understood what was unfolding.
I went to the window and I just saw a guy in a white car on top of it, letting off shots going off. And then there was an older lady who was on the right-hand side of the pathway who was put down. So I saw her go down, and I saw a guy on the left-hand side go down.
And it was like a grandma, she was bleeding the blood. And then like a lot of people, they've been crying. Some people, they became white as well. And yeah, I feel very sad for the Jewish community because it was like a body for them.
The two gunmen were father and son, indiscriminately targeting what was meant to be a family celebration of Hanukkah. Some 1,000 people enjoying the Jewish festival of lights in a small park overlooking the water. After a long standoff with police, the father was shot dead, his son seriously injured. He's been named by local media as 24-year-old Naveed Akram from Bonnyrigg in Sydney's southwest. The weapons used in the shooting were licensed to the older gunman.
We are satisfied that we have 6 firearms from the scene yesterday, but also as a result of the search run at the Campsie address. Ballistics and forensic investigation will determine this morning that those 6 firearms are the 6 that were licensed to that man, but also that they were used in the offence yesterday at Bondi.
These are confronting scenes in a country that prides itself on its low rates of violent crime. A sunny Sunday at the beach turned into a nightmare. Local Bondi residents desperately trying to save people's lives. Victims as young as 10, as old as 87. Among those who died, London-born Rabbi Eli Schlanger, a father of 5 who worked at a Jewish cultural centre in Bondi.
What we saw yesterday was an act of pure evil, an act of anti-Semitism, an act of terrorism on our shores in an iconic Australian location, Bondi Beach, that is associated with joy, associated with families gathering, associated with celebration.
Christmas.
Most people ran when the shots rang out. This man didn't, and he's been hailed a hero. Named locally as Ahmed al-Ahmed, he made the brave decision to pounce on the gunman from behind, wrestling the weapon off him, and making it clear to police he had nothing to do with the two men. Then, another bystander, showing his fury at what had just happened.
Thank you to innocent bystanders and civilians who stood up, risked their own lives to save other people's lives. This is a terrible, wanton act of destructive violence, but there are still amazing people that we have in Australia, and they showed their true colours last night.
Throughout the night, police worked hard to secure the scene. An explosive device was removed from a car thought to be one of the gunmen's. That is no longer a threat.
There were 2 improvised explosive devices found at the scene. They were taken by our rescue and bomb disposal unit. They were found to be active devices, so they were taken back and rendered safe by our police who do a professional job.
But this is a country in shock. Mass shootings rarely happen here, and in Bondi too, a beach that defines Sydney, this laid-back and safe city that people are so proud of. Australians are in utter disbelief something like this has happened. Katie Watson, BBC News, in Bondi.
We'll have more from Katie in a moment, but much of the attack was filmed by onlookers and reveals a sequence of horrifying events. Joe Inwood's report contains some distressing scenes.
This is the earliest footage we have of the gunmen. It's not clear how soon after the attack started they began filming, but it captures the rest of the event. It takes place on Campbell Parade at the northern end of Bondi Beach. Both men are standing on this bridge, firing down into this area of parkland where the Hanukkah festival was taking place. About 30 seconds after this footage starts, one of the men, the one in white trousers, moves off the bridge to take up a position around here, from where he can fire at point-blank range at the crowds. 2 minutes and 50 seconds after the video begins, we have the extraordinary moment when a passerby decides to tackle him. Oh! He disarms him and gets him to back off, before eventually laying down the weapon and taking cover behind the tree. 60 seconds after he was disarmed, the man in white trousers is back on the bridge and firing with a different weapon. We then see the moment, 30 seconds after that, when he is shot. The second man, the one in black trousers, continues firing in both directions for another minute and a half before he too is shot. Yeah, they got him! At this point, we see a couple of people who appear to be members of the public approach them. Another shot is then fired. It's not clear where from, but it seems to be aimed at the man who has just arrived. You hear the person filming shout, "Wow, stop, no, stop!" Presumably concerned someone who was trying to help, may be confused as an attacker. Eventually, 7.5 minutes after this footage began, police make it onto the bridge, where they find one attacker dead and another critically wounded.
Joe Inwood reporting there. Let's rejoin Katie at Bondi Beach. Have police, Katie, been saying any more about what they knew about the suspects?
Well, on Sunday evening, the police said that one of the gunmen was known, but not from an immediate threat perspective, and they updated that earlier today, saying that the older gunman did have a firearms license for several years, but there were no incidents, and it was all registered. But no doubt they are going through the run-up to this attack, the worst in 30 years. Here in Australia, and the mood here, you can see behind me the bridge where the attack took place. It's all cordoned off. People have been laying flowers this morning. There's a school opposite that has closed. The community here is absolutely reeling. They cannot believe something like this could have happened here in Bondi.
All right, Katie, thank you. Katie Watson there at Bondi Beach. Well, there's been reaction from around the world to events in Sydney. Donald Trump described the attack as purely anti-Semitic. King Charles said both he and the Queen are appalled and saddened, and Sir Keir Starmer says police here will increase patrols around synagogues and in Jewish communities as Hanukkah celebrations continue. The family of the British-born rabbi who died in the attack, Eli Schlanger, described him as a caring man who loved helping people. Here's Lucy Manning.
The message of Hanukkah is that there is light even in the darkest of times. So in London and across the UK, the Jewish Festival of Lights was celebrated amidst the darkness of a deadly anti-Semitic attack. Just last Hanukkah, London-born Rabbi Eli Schlanger was celebrating Hanukkah in his own joyful way. The best response to anti-Semitism, he said. His British family told the BBC people should spread light in his memory.
Eli was a really wonderful, warm, caring, vivacious, energetic, outgoing guy who loved people, loved doing good, and loved caring for other people. I know this is what Eli would be saying. Go and do good things.
In North London and at other Hanukkah events, there was an increased police presence. Hanning went to school with Rabbi Schlanger.
He was a father. He had a 2-month-old baby, 40 years old, in the prime of his life, taken by cold murderers.
How are the community feeling on the first night of Hanukkah?
We are reeling in pain, but we are going around, carrying on to make the world a bigger and better place, bringing acts of goodness, acts of light.
The Jewish community is still determined to celebrate its festivals, but there is some increasing fear with rising anti-Semitism. 3 Jewish festivals and 3 deadly attacks. Hanukkah in Bondi Beach, Yom Kippur 2 months ago in Manchester, and Simchat Torah in Israel on October the 7th. As the Prime Minister lit Hanukkah candles with his wife, who is Jewish, he said in a social media post that the anti-Semitic terrorist attack against Jewish families was sickening. Rabbi Schlanger had, like many Jews and the Israeli government, criticised the Australian government's response to rising violent attacks against the community there.
Your government did nothing to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia. You did nothing to curb the cancer cells that were growing inside your country. You took no action. You let the disease spread. And the result is the horrific attacks on Jews we saw today.
President Trump told the Jewish world they should still celebrate Hanukkah proudly.
But to Australia and the Prime Minister, to everybody that we know so well, we get along with so well, we have a great relationship. That's a terrible situation going on over there. Think of that.
Hanukkah is the story of the survival of the Jewish religion. And yet, on the first day of this festival, people were again murdered just because they were Jews. Lucy Manning, BBC News.
In other news now, the Home Secretary has described violence against women and girls as a national emergency. She accused the justice system of failing women and said every police force in England and Wales will have a specialist team to investigate rape and sexual offences by 2029. Is Leila Nafi.
The safety of women and girls on the street, in the home, a priority for ministers who've pledged to halve violence against them within a decade. Now, after repeated delays, they're setting out their strategy to achieve that target, promising a response across government to try to prevent abuse, crack down on perpetrators and support victims. Today, the Home Secretary announced measures to target abusers and said she had reached a depressing conclusion.
The criminal justice system fails women. It fails women who are victims of domestic abuse, of sexual assault, of stalking, all sorts of offences, because we have a postcode lottery. Some police forces handle these sorts of cases very well. The investigations are very thorough. They focus on the suspects, not on the victims, and they put the case in the best possible position to get a conviction later on, and others don't do it so well.
Specialist rape and sexual offence investigation teams will be introduced to all police forces in England and Wales by 2029. At the moment, more than half have them. New DNA technology will be rolled out for use in rape and sexual assault cases. More police forces will be encouraged to use intelligence and data to target men who pose the greatest risk to women. And ministers will look at extending the domestic violence disclosure scheme known as Clare's Law to include offences such as stalking, sexual assault or harassment. Those in the sector want victims to be at the heart of the government's approach.
It's much more important that we are listening to the people who have experienced this and who are working in it, and making sure that they have the funds and support they need to carry on doing their life-saving work, and to make sure that we're really understanding that prevention starts from very early on.
The Home Secretary insisted there would be more money for all the policies forming part of the strategy. The Tories say it's not enough.
Disappointing this government has taken a year and a half to announce the strategy, and the new money they're putting into it today is a very small amount. It's only £2 million. It will pay for less than one police officer per police force, or 30 in total, at a time when Labour have cut 1,300 police. So I'm afraid it's too little too late.
The government says it no longer wants crimes against women and girls to be considered a fact of life. Leila Matthew, BBC News.
Police in America say a person of interest has been detained in connection with the shooting at Brown University that left 2 people dead. 9 others were injured after a gunman opened fire at the university in Providence, Rhode Island on Saturday. Police say the detained suspect was in his 20s, but they haven't named him. Ukraine's President Zelensky has been meeting Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner for talks on how to end the war with Russia. Speaking to reporters on the way to Berlin, he said Kiev was willing to drop its demand to join NATO, but would need firm security guarantees to guard against future Russian invasions. Well, Katya Adler is live in Berlin for us now. So where exactly are we with these talks, Katya? I mean, is there any optimism?
Well, you asked about optimism, Clive. I tell you what there is a lot of, and that is pressure on Ukraine. And that's because Donald Trump is getting really impatient. His administration recently published its national security strategy, where it prioritizes stabilizing US relations with Moscow. So ideally, Donald Trump really wants an end to all of this. But Ukraine is refusing to roll over. Vlodamir Zelensky, here in Berlin today, said, yeah, he's willing to compromise on some things. He's no longer, as you say, insisting on NATO membership as part of a peace deal, but he is insisting on getting cast-iron security guarantees from his allies, including the US, to make sure that Russia doesn't invade again. Now, talks here with US negotiators were so intense, Clive, that we're told they're going to roll over into tomorrow morning. And I'll tell you who else is coming here tomorrow, Clive, and that is a big list of big European names. Emmanuel Macron of France, Sir Keir Starmer, the Danish, the Swedish, the Dutch Prime Ministers, I'm told, the Polish Prime Minister, NATO Secretary General, all of them to hold Vlodamir Zelensky's hand? No, it's because they are convinced this isn't just about Ukrainian sovereignty going forward, it's about the future security of Europe. The host of this meeting, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, says this is a Russian war of aggression against Ukraine and against the rest of Europe. These European leaders are worried that if there is a peace deal that's too soft on Russia, then Vladimir Putin will come back for more. And while this diplomatic ping-pong continues, Clive, of course, so does the war on the ground in Ukraine, claiming more and more lives.
All right, Katya, thank you. Katya Adler, our Europe editor there, live in Berlin. Many thanks. Here, the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, says the party will scrap the ban on the sale of all new petrol and diesel cars in 2030 if she wins the next election. The policy, introduced by the previous Conservative government, would mean all new cars would have to be electric or hybrid as part of efforts to reach net zero by 2050. The current government says the policy will deliver cleaner air and quieter streets. New train timetables have started today, involving some of the most significant changes since 2018. Rail operators are promising more services across the network and faster journeys on some routes. Passengers are being encouraged to check their new timetables before travelling. Now, there was a shock in the Scottish League Cup final as St Mirren beat the favourite Celtic 3-1 at Hampden Park. It's only the second time in their history they've lifted the trophy, and it leaves Celtic without a win under their new manager Wilfred Norsey. Ben Croucher has the story.
And to a man, they believed.
But did everybody else? St Mirren came into the Scottish League Cup final as underdogs, but soon shocked Celtic.
What a start for St Mirren!
A bundle of joy. Celtic did draw level. Rio Hatate slid home some hope for new manager Wilfred Nancy, chasing his first win in only his third game in charge. They were soon chasing the game again.
Let's snap forward and the header will go on!
Jonah Ayunga created the black and white bedlam. A second League Cup was within reach. Celtic fans had every reason to be worried, searching for another equaliser, open to the sucker punch and the knockout blow. A first win over Celtic in 3 years, and no better place to do it. They came as underdogs and left with the trophy.
Legends to a man!
Ben Croucher, BBC News.
A Royal Mail box has been delivered to scientists in Antarctica just in time for Christmas. Now it was sent to the remote Rotherham Research Station by the British Antarctic Territory Post Office. The new red box comes complete with King Charles's cipher. The mail, though, will take a little longer to get back to Britain because it goes via the Falkland Islands. Long way around. Time for a look at the weather news now. And Elizabeth, seeing more rain.
Yeah, I'm afraid so, Clive. There's a lot more to come in the forecast. Mostly for the north and the west, though, as we head through this week. It's already been a very wet few days for northern and western stretches of the UK. Plenty of Met Office yellow weather warnings in force for that heavy rain, including to ambers, the second highest level of alert across the Cumbrian Fells, valid until 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. As much as 200 millimetres of rain. It's enough to cause some flooding and some disruption. And another amber warning too that's valid until 9 o'clock on Monday evening. Now, this is across southern western counties of Wales. It's already falling on saturated ground. Some spots have already seen a month's worth of rain. And we've still got half the month left to go, of course. But the rain is now clearing away from Scotland and Northern Ireland tonight. So sun rest up here, clearing skies. It's going to be a chilly start to the day here tomorrow. Still dry across the southeastern quarter. That rain moving further south. Here it is a milder start to your Monday morning. But on Monday, the rain is draped across southwest England, up through Wales, in towards northern England too. To the north of our front, there's some sunny spells. A few showers out towards the far west, but a bit of a change here. Still some sunny spells and some areas of clouds south of the front as well. Another dry day here, and we've still got that southerly wind, so the air is mild for the time of year. Double figures towards the south, high single figures further north. Now on Tuesday, it could be quite a chilly start to the day. Our weather front is pushing further south and east there, so still some mist and fog around. Here's Wednesday's weather, because yes, it is going to be really quite unsettled as we head through the rest of the week, so there will be more rain at times. Find out when and where for your local area on the BBC weather app. Clive.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you. Elizabeth Ritseamy there. That's it. More coverage, of course, of all the events in Australia on the BBC News channel. But now, it's time for all the news where you are. Have a peaceful night.
Thanks, Clive. I'm Emma Thomas, and you're watching Midlands Today.